bro.
Right.
Just thankful to still be here.
Right.
That's the big thing.
Let's get back to, you did play in the National Football League, but I'm gonna go back to your high school and growing up. You grew up in Flint.
Yeah.
When you were small, what did you want? Was football on the list? Did you want to be a professional football player? What did you want to be growing up in Flint?
Coming up in Flint, I always knew I wanted to be an entertainer.
Okay.
Because I came from the art thing. I was an artist, painting,
Oh, really? Okay.
sketching. My first scholarship wasn't in football. I had a scholarship to Western Michigan University as an artist.
Okay.
And then I walked on to the football team.
Right. Had that bug.
Listen, this is the thing about football. And what was kind of crazy to me is that football was a way out of Flint, Michigan. I followed all the greats. There was Andre Rison.
Yep.
There was Carl Banks.
Yep.
There were the people, even just any kind of athletic. Glenn Rice went to Flint. I used to watch Glenn play with Northwestern before he went on to Michigan and went on to the Lakers and became a superstar. So I knew athletics was going to be my way out.
Right.
Because no one was going to pay me to paint. You know what I mean? Like, I was airbrushing T-shirts and doing all this stuff. You get $500 maybe, you know what I'm saying? But with sports, I knew, I said, this is going to be my way out. I had friends that were ready for the world. It was either music or sports. I couldn't sing, couldn't do a thing. And I said, well, this is going to be my thing. But the big thing about it is that for me, football was always a means, but it was never the end.
Right.
Which is wild because it took me years to figure out I never really liked football.
Wow.
This is
You
what
didn't have
I'm
to be
saying.
good at it. You were good enough at it to get to walk on. Did you earn a scholarship?
Yeah, I earned a scholarship. I walked on, earned a scholarship, got drafted in the 11th round to the Los Angeles Rams in 1991. Then got cut later on and then went to the Packers, the Chargers, Redskins, Eagles. Hopped all around because, it was my way it was the only way I saw to make some money.
Right.
But the big deal is that, and this is another thing, man, we played at the same time.
We did.
You were you. You became superstar, Pro Bowler, the whole thing. I always thought, well, maybe it wasn't for me. But the real thing is I realized is that because of this deep down belief that I didn't really like football that much. I wasn't really.
You liked it.
I wasn't studying it. You see what I mean? Like, there was a thing where you had to go to a whole nother level to be at your level.
Yes.
And it was other things I wanted to do. There was just so many other interests. Like, I'd be in practice and my mind be going off on what I was going to be doing afterward and what I was going to do before and what and I have to say this because it's funny. My wife, my wife was there the whole time. We've been married 34 years. Okay, congrats. She said, baby, maybe you wasn't that good. And I said, you're probably right. But the thing is, while you're doing it, you're thinking, I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. Right. But I realized when I look back, I didn't study my plays enough. I didn't do the little things because I had my interest. My mind was always in another place.
Had you given football what you given your entertainment career, do you think you would have been better at it?
Absolutely. But it was too little, too late.
Right.
Once you start tooling around. Also, how I came in in the 11th round.
Right.
So
it was 12 rounds back then.
Yeah,
it was 12 rounds back then.
People are looking now, they're like, 11 rounds? No, that's way back. Which is basically a glorified free agent.
Mm-hmm.
But I had some people who believed in me. I was a hustler. And that's another thing, too. I couldn't catch. I couldn't throw. My ability was the ability to take tremendous amounts of pain.
Right.
I was a special teamer. I was that guy
wedge
who blow up the wedge. They don't even have a wedge anymore. Okay? But I was the guy they was like, he's giving it up every time. And that would make me stick on a team.
Right.
But then when it came down to play and doing the thing, it was...
To be a linebacker and hold a specific position.
I had to be, and this is the thing, it took years for me to realize that and come to grips with that. Mm-hmm. Because you always like, I know I was good enough, because of your own pride.
Right.
But then when you look back and you're like, man, there were people that was just better. They were willing to do more. But then, once I got into entertainment, I realized that's the key.
What it was meant to be.
That's the secret.
How supportive was your family when you were growing up? Did because Flint is a very blue collar, hard working. Normally, you go to the factories, and that's what you do. You graduate high school, you go to the factories, or you go to the military, and that's it. So, how supportive was your mom and dad, your family members, with you? Like, man, I'm gonna be an entertainer. I'm gonna be in Hollywood. I'm gonna do this. Did they look at you like, man, you out your mind?
Yes. First of all, you gotta understand. I feel like I gotta go to the biblical story of Joseph.
Okay.
You know, when he told his brothers, yeah, you look, hey, one day y'all all gonna bow down to me. And they was like, oh, really? And they sold him.
Right.
I used to tell people what my dreams were all the time. I was like, I want to be on TV. I want to do movies. I want to make movies. I want to draw. I want to do this. And they were looking at me like I was from another planet. They're like, hey, man, you in Flint.
Right.
What are you talking about? You are so far removed from all that stuff. And it kind of got me in trouble a lot. My mom got me in trouble, you know, back then and now. But I also realized it was one of the things where, you know, I had big, big dreams. And what was a big, big thing for me is my dad, you know, my father was an alcoholic, but also he was one of those guys that came up from Georgia, a little small town, Edison, Georgia, worked his way up, got a factory, and created a life for us. But at the same time, he was a little jealous. I mean, he looked at y'all didn't work as hard as I did. Y'all didn't do the things that I did to get where I'm from.
Right.
Y'all hadn't really experienced life. It was one of them things. And so he was always he never liked sports. My father hated sports.
Okay.
He would always want me to go to the Army. My mother was super religious, which at the time, you know, going to church, I wasn't allowed to go to movies. I wasn't allowed to play sports. I wasn't allowed to dance. I wasn't allowed to listen to secular music. Everything I do today, I was not allowed to do when I was a young man. And so I didn't get to play sports till later, like 9th grade, 10th grade, when they kind of, you know, I cajoled them and they kind of got, my mom got out of the religious stuff a little bit, but it was really, really strict, man. And when I would start talking about that stuff, they were like, we can't even go to the movies. But you're talking about being in entertainment.
Right.
It was hard, man. It was real. I felt like a black sheep. I felt like a guy that was always kind of eyes in the clouds. I'm left-handed. Everybody else was right-handed. I'm drawing. Everybody's like outside playing. They're like, hey, man, what is going on?
Do you think because normally the way kids are with parents, the more parents don't want a kid to do something, the more you drive that kid towards that.
Yeah.
And because they didn't want you to play sports and they didn't want you to, they couldn't see your vision of being an artist and being in Hollywood, did that drive the passion to make you want to get to it even more?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's kind of wild because I even have problems, you know, with there's family members and different things. A lot of guys counted me out even back then. And now they're like, oh, okay, you did your thing or whatever. But it's one of the things where you never forget that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I always felt like I had something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of the reason I got into football.
Mm-hmm.
But then also, once I got into entertainment, I knew there was no way back. Like, you gotta understand, when I moved out I retired from the NFL and moved to LA with my wife, we didn't know anybody. We had to start from scratch. And I had my little severance package from the NFL, wasn't a lot of money. I didn't
very
make a
little
lot
back
of money.
then.
Very little.
It's still very little right now. So don't feel bad. It's not like it's millions right now.
Oh, damn it. I thought these guys getting paid now. No, I guess not. But you know, it's a journeyman. Right. So I had to start from scratch, man. My first job in LA was sweeping floors.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a point where I thought, you know, and then everybody had counted me out by then. I mean, even there was family members that were like, he had a chance, he blew it.
Right.
You know, that was the consensus. And it was like, well, yeah, see, I told you this NFL thing.
Did you have people to say, you know what, man, bro, you in the NFL, and you gave that up to come do this?
Yeah. First of all, they were looking at like, why you keep getting cut? That was the other thing. And it was like, obviously it's not working out. And it was just, you know, it's one thing where you got a lot of people, family, friends, or so-called friends, waiting for you to fail.
Right.
And that's a big drive.
Yeah.
For me, it was like, I love when they count me out. You know, it was like one of them things where I got to show everyone. My wife, one thing, my wife has always been by my side. And there was one time even when she came to me and she was like, Terry, look, she said, we hurting. She said, we ain't got no money. We starving. We got these 2 kids at the time. She was pregnant with my 3rd. And we got 5 total.
Yeah.
And so she was like, what are we going to do if we're struggling like this? It's not working. Then when are we going to go back? Are we going to go back? I said, we are never leaving. I don't care if it happens when we're 99 years old. We are never leaving LA. I promise you this. I said, if we just continue to do this, because this is where I had kind of learned the mistakes I had made in football.
Okay.
And I didn't have another chance on football. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of like, man, if I had just studied a little bit more, if I had worked a little bit harder, if I had really, really done what I should have been doing. Because that's the thing. You tell yourself you've been doing what you should be doing.
But deep down,
but then you eat the cake.
Yeah.
And you hang out.
Right.
And you do that. And you stay up too late. And you don't go to bed. And you totally mess your stuff up. You show up late for the job interview and then be like, they didn't want me. They hated me. I was like, no, you showed up late, bro. And I totally had to be honest with myself, man. Stop marking off things that I wasn't doing. And I said, okay, what I'm going to have to do, and this is the way I framed everything, even when I was here in LA. I said, imagine, what if I'm sweeping this floor, man. Now, you understand, I'm almost in tears while I'm sweeping this floor because I'm going, dude, my life may never, ever get back to where I saw. Because once you're in the NFL, you at least see it. You see the money. You see the stuff. You're like, man, I'm there. I can touch it. And then the nice cars
and the jewelry.
Oh, you see the cars pulling out the lot. You see the jewelry. You see the people living the life and the press. And then all of a sudden, but it's gone. And it's gone.
Right.
And I said, man, look, okay. I said, imagine if someone was going to give me $1 million to sweep this floor. How would you sweep it? And these are the little bitty mindsets that, and everybody thought, and this is the thing, everybody had determined certain people that already won. Like, I won life, he won, people say, hey, won the internet, whatever. It ain't never over. It's never how you start. It's how you finish. Right. And let me tell you, when I'm done, and I'll be honest with you, man, I'm just getting started. I truly, truly feel I have the same energy that I had when I first started. I'm really thankful to be sitting here with you right now. But I admire you for it. But just your transition. You know what I mean? And the energy that you bring. Your passion is palpable. And I'm the same way. I'm 100% passionate. Right. That's all I am. Right. You know what I mean? I don't know no other way. I have no other way. I do everything like I'm getting $1 million.
When you sat down for the audition to read with Cat, did you know Cat prior to that?
Nope, not at all.
And you guys became pretty cool.
We became amazing friends. And what's so crazy, I used to watch him because we, remember a movie, when you shoot a movie, then you got to wait 1.5 years for it to come out.
Correct.
So you just wait, like people, you like, man, well, I got this thing coming, they're like, yeah, right, whatever. and you know what's so funny? After Friday After Next, I had to go back doing security. I had to go back, right? Because I didn't have nothing else to turn to. Right. But I knew it was coming. Right. And it was so crazy. I would do commercials and different things, but I would go watch Cat Williams at the Hollywood Park Casino. He had his own room, and this man was the funniest man I've ever seen, which was crazy. And then I'll never forget when he started selling out the Universal Amphitheater and watching them blow up. It's another thing too, to watch people all. It's funny because I see kids that's been on set and now they're superstars now. Like Tyler James Williams is now a superstar. Right. I've watched people, this is the, you never know what's going to happen. You look at things and you go, oh my God, this man was, listen, one great example. We were at the BET Awards and I saw this little kid walking around with a little hat on. And I was like, hey, I got his mixtape. I said, Kendrick. He's like, you know who I am? It's Kendrick Lamar, bro. I said, man, your mixtape through Section 80 is amazing. I said, you are the next. I said, Rebecca, this is Kendrick. He was like, you know who I am? I said, who? I said, I love you. I said, I think you are going to be the future. And what's so crazy is that he called me a few years later, ended up doing a video with him. Right. Because he said, remember when you told me you knew who I was? Remember this? You told me I was going to be doing something great. Look at this, man. Now, look, and tell me he's not the best in the world right now, and I'm so proud. And the thing is, too, man, there's another thing I had to learn is that the NFL taught me that I had to unlearn competing. I decided to never compete with people. This was my problem. Because they call it the sin of comparison.
Right.
When I'm looking at what you got and comparing what I got, it's always going to be a problem.
Yeah.
Always.
Right.
Because you always going to come up short.
Yes.
Somebody always got more.
Right.
And then somebody always got less, but you always want more.
Right.
And I realized, man, that creativity was the exact opposite of competition.
Right.
If I'm being creative, I'm not competing. So I decided, you know what? Because everybody was like, hey, man, you gotta, when you gotta be like Tiny, you gotta be this, you gotta blah, blah, blah. I was like, no. I'm gonna be me. I'm gonna be me. And they was like, yeah, but you kind of weird. I said, yeah, I am.
That's what made me unique.
I am. All right. Listen, first of all, you can't even, it got to the point where we read scripts now that we want a Terry Crews type. Because they know that's just me.
Right.
And I decided by just being creative, that was my ticket out of that world of competition. Because this is the thing, man. The league is always.
It's got to be competition.
It's like, hey, man, you versus so and so.
Right.
You wait. First of all, you got to fight the people in your own locker room first.
Yeah.
Before you even go up against another team. You know what I mean? And then you always being judged like, well, you missed a step, and did you miss that? But he didn't.
Right.
The coaches will never. They will always tell you what you messed up on.
Right.
And then, being black, we would go into the locker room, and if you hurt, they act like, you act like you don't want to play. I'll say, hey, man, first of all, the white kids get hurt, and they're like, yeah, he's hurt.
Right.
But they never ever treated any black guy I knew in the locker room like he was really hurt. Like he was trying to cut out on the game.
So in other words, you said I gotta unlearn because you know it's
because I tried. I called, and then you find out he's drinking. Because he'll lie. I ain't drinking. And then he cut.
But you know all the signs that he is drinking.
All the signs. You know what I mean? Just everything. Because he's a whole different person when he's not.
Right.
So.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have an older brother, a younger sister. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy that I was going in between.
What's their relationship like with your father? Or is it just you?
No, it's
everybody.
I mean, yeah, because again.
But like you say,
everybody was
drinking.
Everybody was there when he was beating my mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it makes it very, very difficult. And when she passed, that was a really, really hard time. Because that's the thing, man. It's almost like, why didn't you, it should have been you. You beating her. And she just internalized and all that. She got sick, and that was it. And it's like, man, but it's one of those things. I think if he was willing, and we just got to find out if he would be willing. I have to find out if he'd be willing to do that, so we could all sit down together.
Yeah, have you ever had a conversation with him like, Dad, why you treat Mom like this? Why did you do some of the things that you did?
You're talking to a person who would literally be like, this is one thing he says, I didn't beat her that bad.
That bad?
Bruh, when you're talking those kind of words, you're like, man, what are you saying? I didn't beat her that bad. You're talking to their son. And he's never been able to acknowledge that. And what happens is, this is a problem, man. Listen, and this is one thing I realized, that if you don't deal with these things early, or where you're at, they harden.
Mm-hmm.
The Bible talks about hardening your heart. And there's a point where you feel like, well, I'm good no matter what. And I never wanted to get like that. You gotta understand, man, I had to revamp my whole relationship with my own wife. 20 years in, I had to admit I had been unfaithful to her. You know how wonderful, I'm telling you all the stuff, the great stuff she did, the whole thing, I still wasn't enough for me to be faithful. And I had to turn.
When you was at your lowest, she was there.
You see? And I went, man. And I had to go, because I was going to turn, it was going to be a whole hardening of my heart. Well, I'm finally realizing, well, it was you. Because you got to understand, when you're in that mindset, it's like, it's always somebody else. It's always somebody else's problem. Hey, not me, I'm good. Right. And I'll never forget, I felt like we was going to break up. We had just celebrated our 20th anniversary. We're on 34 now.
Wow.
But I knew, I said, I don't think we're gonna make it. But the thing is, there were things I never told her. You know, there were secrets that I was holding, stuff that I done that I never said nothing about.
That she didn't know about.
She didn't know, but she suspected. You know, they know.
Yeah.
And she's like, And finally, she said, this is the thing, man, this is what got me. She got me, she said, what is it I don't know about you, Terry Crews? And you know, sometimes you pop a spring. And she could have said that any other day and it wouldn't have done it. And it went, bang. And it said, tell her. Because if you don't tell her, it's almost like God told me, he said, I'll never be with you again if you don't say it.
Did you feel like if you didn't tell her at that moment, and she'd have found out everything on her own, it'd have been a whole different ball game?
Whole different ball game. Oh, easy. Well, that's the thing, man. Look, it's, how does it work in the court? First of all, you turn yourself in. If you admit guilt, you get the leniency of the court. But if they catch you,
right.
If you talk about
taking the trial, you got to get the full, you got to get the hardship business.
Oh, bam! That gap will come down hard. And I said, this is what happened.
Obviously, as you're explaining, you're telling her some of the transgressions that you had that she didn't know she suspected. And I'm sure there are tears starting to flow.
Yeah.
And that's starting to break your heart because she was there when no one else was. Yeah. She knew you at your lowest. Yeah. And she picked you up so you could be at your highest. And now you got to tell her, baby, I'm not the man that you thought I was.
Hey, man, there ain't no kind of pain than hurting the one who loves you the most. That's a whole nother level of pain. I mean, you can be kind of cruel to people you don't really care about or whatever, but somebody who's always down, who's never disappointed you, is always... And I look at my wife right now, and I'm like, wow, you gotta understand, man, like, knowing, there were times I would come home and she'd be in tears, and I know it was because of me. You know what I mean? And that hurts a woman. I mean, that's to the core. And I remember the same way. The people put you on a high pedestal. Oh, he's never this, Hey, man, we're all human.
Right.
Big time.
Right.
And that's why I want to always keep out there.
Eddie Murphy wrote you in Norbit. And you talk about you wanted to be a comedic actor.
Yeah.
There's no bigger one than Eddie Murphy.
No.
And he wrote you in Norbit.
Can I tell you the story?
Yes.
I know. We run out of time.
Nah, we got time.
Bro, I got invited over Eddie's house. And I said, man, but I said, but you ain't Eddie. The dude that invited me wasn't Eddie. I said, man, I don't know. He said, no, it's cool, man. Eddie said I could bring some people around there. I said, dude, come on, man. I do not want to show up at Eddie's house.
Right.
And not supposed to be there. So, man, I said, but I had to, he's like, no, man, Eddie is cool.
Right.
So we go over to his house, man, and I'm like, oh my God, this place is the most palatial thing I've ever seen. I ain't never seen. I didn't know people lived like this. I swear, man, that was at the moment where you're like, good God, this is one of the most giant people in the world. And he's there, and people, and there's food and everything, and the house full of people and all things. And I'm like, but where's Eddie? Oh, man, I'm just thinking, Lord. And Eddie's at the top of the stairs. And I went, oh, and he's looking over the whole thing. I'm like, oh, man. And then he comes right down the stairs and looks me dead in the eye. Like, and he ain't looking at nobody else in the room. He's looking at me. I'm like, oh, damn it. I knew I was supposed to be here. Like, he looking at me like, he said, you walked dead over to me, man. I'm going, oh, I'm about to get kicked out of this man's house. He said, T, come here. And I follow him, and we go to the hallway. He said, hey, man, my brother's writing this movie. My brother Charlie. He said, he's writing this movie called Norbit, man. We got a role. We wrote just for you. Bang! He said, would you want to be in this movie with us? Oh, God. Who gets this? Who gets this, Shannon? Certainly, there's billions and billions of people on Earth.
Right.
And I got that.
Right.
You ain't got to tell me nothing. I feel like that endorsement, the fact that he said, we wrote this for you. because they recognize the passion that I bring to every role. They knew I wasn't gonna mail it in. They knew I wasn't gonna complain. They knew I was gonna come with it. Big black job. I did. And I'm so thankful for it, man. The fact that I worked with Eddie and Charlie.
Yeah.
Charlie, and look, Charlie's gone. Good friend.
Yeah.
Good friend. Just blows my mind.
You also were in Soul Plane with with Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin Hart. That was one of the first things.
And this is kind of before Kevin Hart became the K Hart that we know him as currently. Did you see this kind of meteoric rise
Yes.
for him?
Yes, Kevin was a superstar. But see, you understand, Soul Plane was the most bootleg movie of all time. I was at the wait. I was at the gas station, and I was like, man, this movie coming out in 6 months. They're like, hey, man, you did a good job in Soul Plane. I'm like, huh? I saw it last night. I was like, how you? Man, I got it at the house, man. What you talking about? I was like, I pumped my gas. Dude, I went to Roscoe's, it's sitting out there in front of Roscoe's. I said, how y'all get so? Yeah, man, just go in there and get your waffles, bro. Don't bother me, man. I wanted to be like, man, y'all can't be selling these movies. Hey, go get your waffle, bro. Don't be messing with me. I was like, all right. I said, selling my movie outside. Dude, the streets love Soul Plane. They didn't pay a dime to see it, though.
It was awesome.
It was awesome. Hey, man. But the streets had it 6 months before it came out. You know that copy came straight from Technicolor. Somebody at Technicolor, it's like the McDonald's scam. You know, McDonald's Monopoly?
Yes.
That somebody on the inside was giving it out.
Yeah.
And somebody on the inside sent that straight to the street because they knew they could get money on it.
Right.
Everybody made money but Kevin and the producers of that movie. But see now, but think about it. Look what Kevin is now.
Right. I mean, you do voice acting. I mean, Boondocks, American Dad, Spider-Man, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. Do you? I mean, because a lot of people say they like doing voiceover roles. Do you like that?
Love it, everything. In fact, oh man, I don't know. I can't even say it yet. Dang it.
Oh, you got something?
I know. I'll tell you after. But I love it. I love doing all this stuff, man. I mean, you remember, it's all entertainment. You got now understand this. I got to go back to another thing. When I started, people weren't doing, like, stars weren't doing commercials.
Right.
And they came, I remember getting this opportunity because one guy fell out. They had hired some guy to do it, and they said, well, we had this Terry Crews type guy. Why don't we just ask Terry Crews if he would do it? They presented me with the first Old Spice commercial.
Yeah.
And I said, hell yeah! Hell yeah! And I went in there, man, and they was like,
you grew up wearing those. You grew up wearing those Spice back, and everybody wore that.
Everybody. And look, first of all, you gotta understand, it was kind of like on the outs. Like Old Spice was, they were thinking about changing it and the whole thing. And all of a sudden, it became iconic. I said, you can entertain with 2 minutes, 1 second voiceover, you can entertain. I said, my rule, I have no rules. And dude, I did that whole campaign for 10 years.
Wow.
It changed the game. Like all of a sudden you have major stars now doing commercials.
Right.
And the whole thing. But the Old Spice changed the game. They played on it all over the NFL. That was another thing that was kind of like my revenge in the league. Because you couldn't watch a game without seeing some crazy Terry Crews Old Spice commercial. You know what I mean?
I don't know if you have any horror stories, but Terrence Howard said that he was only paid like $12,000 for doing Hustle and Flow. Do you have any horror stories in which you felt that you didn't get the proper compensation that you deserve?
First of all, I understand what Terrence is saying, but I have never, ever looked at whatever money I got as a horror story. Mm-hmm. If I did it, I loved it.
Right.
See, but this is the problem. There's a saying I have to say, you can't nod yes and mean no. If I nod yes, I looked at the terms and said, okay, you're gonna pay me $4,000 for 2 days. Okay. If I said okay, and I can't come back later and be like, I only got $4,000 for that. Hey man, that's what you presented.
Right.
So there it is. You know, to me, I'm not going back on that.
Right.
And this keeps my heart always full of gratitude. Because once I start to complain about any of that, it starts to mess with my legacy. I didn't get nothing for training day. How about that? I didn't get a 0, but it changed my life forever. You didn't know who I was if it wasn't for a no-paying job. First of all, name somebody who play football for money when they start. You don't get no money. Right. You play football for free. You play basketball for free. Then you get all the way to the pros and you get the millions. Ain't no other way, bruh. There's nothing else. Wait, there's no way to hop, skip, and jump this thing. You see what I'm saying? But that's the thing. People are trying to invent ways to get right to the money. But hey, man, first of all, nobody knew who I was, and I got my shot. I got paid maybe $4 grand on Friday after next, but that's why I came up to Cube and said, thank you. Thank you.
That was a start.
That was the start. Now, ooh, I make money now.
You've been a part of 3 shows that did at least 100 episodes. Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Are We There Yet? Everybody Hates Chris. That's an extremely rare feat for a single actor to have 3 different shows to reach that.
Very rare. But again, I love working. I love what I'm doing. Just did a movie with Dave Bautista coming out next year called The Killer's Game. So honored, man. Like, who gets this, dude? I'm living. You talking to an old football player. You know that.
Yeah.
When I look at the players I play with, they just like, man, you killing it, man. You like, and I gotta take it. But again, when I look at the fact that tomorrow's not promised,
right?
Man. I don't know if I'll be here tomorrow. So I'm going, and I'm going to take it. But every one of those roles makes me better. I learned on the fly. I didn't go to school.
Right.
So I learned by doing 100 episodes of the show.
Right.
You know, it's funny. I'm on the road. I learned by acting. So Tashina Arnold, she'd be sitting there, and I was like, man, these lines, they're hard to learn. These lines, I'd be like, man, I'm trying to learn these lines. She said, Terry, sing them. I said, what are you talking about? She said, sing your lines. If you sing it, you know how you sing. You memorize songs, right? She said, when you talk it, sing it, and you remember it. See, that's a seasoned actress telling me the keys to the game, and I'm ready to receive it. Dude, I said, holy, it changed my life.
Right.
And Tashina is one of the most brilliant, super big actors since she was a kid. And she had all this knowledge, but I'm open to it because I'm like, how do I do this? And I have no problem asking for help. Right. No problem.
You turned down the Expendable 4 roles because of an assault and because you refused to withdraw the petition of the civil suit. Was that difficult for you, or were you standing on, as they say, not business, but principle? It
was extremely difficult because I love those guys, man. We did this together. You know, Randy Couture, Dolph Lundgren, Sylvester Stallone. I call him my dad in the business. He was like, man, I'm gonna put you in this thing. And then when the 4th one came, the producer told me, yeah, ain't gonna be in it if you don't drop this case. I said, come on, man. I said, what kind of game are you playing? Now remember, I already been manipulated by the NFL. I'll never forget when I had to go home on that Monday. I had to bring back my playbook.
Right.
So you can get rid of me anytime you want. You know what I mean? But this was my terms. This is my Barry ain't going back. You know what I mean? This is me like, no, I'm not gonna nod my head yes and mean no. I mean no this time.
Right.
And I love those guys, man. Jason Statham, all of them. And I hope we can do something together in the future. And it ain't their fault. You know what I mean? But there was just things I have to say, remember now, like I said, if I'm doing it, you got to know I've already counted all the costs. All the costs. And I've done many, many things for free, but that meant more to me than the things I got paid a lot of money on.
How difficult was it to come out? Because you said a Hollywood exec wrote you.
Yeah.
And that's not easy for a man, especially a man of your stature.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, the fabrications of the stories that started being fabricated about you.
Yeah.
Did you think, because you say anytime you come out with something, you've already calculated the risk and the cost of whatever you're going to say or do.
Yeah.
Did you think you would get the kind of blowback because I don't think a whole lot of people believed you.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be strange. First of all, if it hadn't happened to me and I heard it, I'd have been like, man, what is this dude talking about? That's why I never got mad. I couldn't get mad at people going, man, what are you doing, man? Big ass Terry Crews.
Right.
But see, I'd already been through probably 8 years of therapy, me and my wife, rebuilding, me understanding what true power was, me understanding that it wasn't about how hard I... You see, you got to understand, in the NFL, road rage works. That works. But in real life, go to jail. Real life, hey man, you do what you did on the NFL football field, you do what you did in MMA, you're going to jail, straight to jail.
Right.
Jail full of cats that was like, I ain't taking that.
Right.
And I realized, because my wife made me promise, she said, Terry, because she, you know, I used to have her hair trigger, temper, and be fighting people, and she was like, man, what are you doing? She said, we're going to lose everything. You can't do this. You got a son now. And the son was my last one. That's my fifth. She said, you want to be able to show him, you want to be able to be there for him, but you acting like this? And I realized something. And I said, man, there's much more power in thinking your way out of situations than fighting your way out of them. And this was blew me away. It's because my wife was right there. And I remember we went home, and I was like, I was like, I can't believe this. She said, Terry. She said, ain't a woman in your life ain't been through that shit. I said, okay. And she said, now what you gonna do? He said, because we can't fight our way throughout this stuff. He said, your daughter, your mother, me, been places where you just had to eat it. So, right. And I said, you know what, bro? I said, I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to sue him. And she said, there you go. And I'm going to tell you how to do it. My wife was right there with me. And she said, you tell what happened. And you show people this could happen. And I remember, I said, hey man, size ain't got nothing to do with it. First of all, if you did it, I mean, look, it's like saying, I'm too big to get shot. Well,
That would be perfect size.
you see what I'm saying? Hey, well, if the bullet hit, you know what I mean? I'm big, I'm giant, my chest was so, no, that went right there. I'm standing there, and it happened. Just if I acknowledge, if I don't say nothing, that don't mean it didn't happen.
Correct.
So what does that mean? But now I said, hold up. Because they were telling me that he could get away with it, he could do it. This is my agency, man. I feel like I paid y'all millions of dollars, man. Millions. And of course, I'm sitting there going, I'm on the black side of this thing, so I'm going, yo, wait a minute. Now, would you be doing this to your white clients? I'm going, I said, so what is going on? Why is this dude still there? And they said, well, they thought I was trying to do some money, like give me a money grab. I said, no. I said, I don't want no money, but he got to go. And you don't get to touch the clients. You don't get to do that. And all of a sudden, they were like, no, he gets to stay. He's a partner. I was like, all right, we go and do. I spent $500,000 of my own money. But how many women have that? How many people have that? How many? And like I was in the position, like I said, how many? I get to have that because I got that kind of money. But for me, I would have spent $1 million to win $1. And I said that my wife, and my wife was like, go ahead, Terry. She said, this is how you fight. Not with your fists, but you think your way through this thing. And you know what? It finally came up with it, and finally, because it's the thing. When you do stuff like that, you don't rob the biggest bank in this place. You rob a whole bunch of little ones. And all these people came out the woodwork, man, that nobody knows about that joined my case. They were like, yeah, he did this to me too. Yeah, he did this. He was coming. I said, this dude. And all of a sudden, they were like, hey, Terry, guess what? We're going to fire him and we're going to give you all your money back. How about that? I said, cool.
All the money that y'all done took in for fees, I need that.
All that. Give me my money back. Thank you. And I moved on. But see, remember, it's not about revenge. It's about, but this is the thing, men, and this is one thing I want every man out there to know, is that you're worth it. Because you can discount yourself, like, oh man, it wasn't no thing, it ain't no thing. But this is the thing, how I had to look at myself. I had a little picture of myself when I was 10 years old on my desk. And I said, man, what if somebody had messed with that little kid? What would you do? That's you. Take care of you. Take care of you. Really, don't let nobody treat that little boy like he's worth less. Because that little boy is me. And that's the same thing. I think every man needs to understand who he really, really is. And the thing is, doesn't mean beating people up. Doesn't mean swinging a bat, shooting up the place. Doesn't mean driving a car through the center of the thing. It means, hey man, you can't do that. No. Standing up and taking your voice, and that's your story. And I stood with all, and let me say, I was inspired by all these women that came forward. That was like, hey, me too. This happened to me. This happened to me. And you know what? I cannot count the number of men that came forward. And it was like, man, wrestlers, NFL players, all the things like, you know what happened to me? And they were coming out. And I would never tell people to make their stuff public. I would never, ever say, but you gotta tell a counselor, a friend, somebody, so that you can get past this. And I was just in the public eye, and I had that skill and ability to deal with it in the public because I'm always public.
How did it make you feel that some prominent people in our community made light of your situation?
I understood it. Man, you gotta know, I'm from Flint, man. You know, first of all, you grow up with, you in the hood, you know about what's wrong with you. You know what I mean? You got a big head, that's big head Johnny.
Right.
You got big ears, that's ears, whatever. You know? You know? Right. It's like you grow up with, you gotta be tough.
Right.
That's the whole thing. Trash talk, whatever, get dunked on, you don't live it down. I mean, that's just the way it was. And I started to realize, well, they're gonna talk anyway. So, you know what I mean? So, let me give me something to talk about. But I started to realize, no way, like, is he gonna tell me? She was always giving me the benefit, always sticking there anyway. And dude, but I have to say this, the happy ending is literally after that 20-year point when we almost broke up, we got closer than ever. And I mean, the next 14, I've been beyond belief. Like, cause I'm a whole person. Right. Like, there ain't no lies, ain't no nothing. It's like, this is what it is. And that's the thing, man. It's like, one thing I want everybody to know about me is that I'm not Hollywood. And when you look at the term Hollywood, I want people to know that I'm human. This is one reason why I say these things. Simply because, you know, people go out and they're like, the whole desire is to be looked at like, oh, you're a superstar, you're this and this, you're infallible. No. People are like, man, you said some stuff that got fit in there. I know. Man, you hurt my feelings when you've been in it. I totally understand. That's me. I did that. You know what I mean? There was a lot of people mad at me for different things, different reasons, and I totally upped up. When I spoke and I should have shut up. And I look back and I go, man, I'm sorry. A lot of times I have to acknowledge that, but a lot of times you have to acknowledge that there's some people that just not gonna like you. And I understand that too. But I feel human. Because this is another thing, as a football player, you lose humanity. You become. Imagine if someone was gonna give me $1 million to sweep this floor. How would you sweep it? And these are the little bitty mindsets that I remember. I was like, okay. I have to imagine I'm going to get $1 million if I sweep this floor correct. Because I had to play these kind of games with my head in order to get over the depression. And I remember sweeping, and all of a sudden I forgot about my problems. I forgot about it. In fact, I was doing something about my situation, and I decided to do that about every menial job that I ever had. I was filing papers that fell over in the Veterans Administration, all the papers that fell over in the Northridge earthquake. I'm filing papers, I'm doing this. Then I started doing security for movie sets. But it wasn't like, bodyguard. It was literally, I'm standing outside on the parking lot, watching with a flashlight, watching it. But what I said is, what if someone gave me $1 million to watch this parking lot? I could make sure I had my batteries and my flashlight, I ironed my clothes. It was a mindset that I said, I'm going to reverse that bad attitude I had in the league that didn't get me where I wanted. I said, now every job I have to treat like that. And what's so crazy is that I started to do everything like that.
Right.
Like it created a habit in me that kept me going. And so it didn't really matter what people said. I felt like I was getting this imaginary reward.
Right.
If I just did a great job. Right. I literally, if I just pleased God, that's all I had to do.
But you mentioned depression.
Yeah.
Because here you are, you had spent 5-6 years in the NFL, and now you're sweeping a floor in a warehouse or a factory, and you're filing papers. So how did that mess with you mentally to know that you had a chance and you saw everything, all your dreams could have been solved, even though it wasn't the path that you really wanted to be on, but a lot of your things could have been solved had you just did that.
Yeah. Well, it was one of the things where my wife literally, because the depression is real.
Mm-hmm.
When you quit football, it's almost like the military. You're trying to figure out what am I now? How am I going to continue this? Now, and I have to say this too, and so many ball players never figured it out, Shannon.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, I'm 55. I can count almost 30 people that are dead from the NFL that I played with.
Right.
There ain't even 30 people in my class in high school that passed away.
Right.
But in the NFL, gone. I mean, people that I played, Junior Seau, just the other day, Frank Wycheck. It blows my mind, man. I mean, people that I played with, I'm sitting there like, wait, Steve Hendrickson's gone. Kevin Green is gone. I was Kevin Green's backup. He's gone. And it says there's something to this. And it's usually after they retire and they go through this mindset of what am I right now? And you may never find it.
Right.
And I thank God that I had my wife to help me come back to life, because she was like, Terry, she said, you are bigger than this. You are more than this. You have to understand that this is you are past this. Now, again, there were times when I didn't believe her.
Right.
But it was one of the things where I got so depressed, I got out of shape, and I remember my wife came up behind me, and this was a life-changing moment, man. She came up behind me and pinched my back fast. Now, I was always proud of how I looked, you know what I mean? And I said, what you doing? It's okay, it's cute. And I said, hey, ain't nothing back there. She said, oh, it's back here. I said, what in the what? And I remember saying, okay, if I could change my life if I just go back to the gym. And this is the thing, man, I hadn't worked out in a year. I was depressed, I was tired. I walked in the gym and I told them, I said, I want to work out here. And I ain't never paid to work out nowhere. And they were like, yo, that's $25 a month. I said, $25 a month? I said, but no, I'm going to work out here. And they said, yeah, it's $25 a month. I remember going, okay, I put my money down. And I went in the gym and I was so depressed. I went in, sat on the machine, read a magazine, and went home. I said, but I got to come back. I said, make sure I come back 21 days. And I made a promise to myself, just keep coming back. And dude, that turned into 30-something odd years, man. I'm right here. Like, I never stopped that whole time. But that was what I have to say is these things are what I call incremental. It's not one big, giant thing. For me, it was always one little message, one little thing. And when I moved out here, I started trying to get my thing on animation, because I was like, I'm an artist, so I could show you my portfolio. And I had my portfolio in at Disney, at DreamWorks, at Hanna-Barbera, all this stuff. But then at the same time, hand-drawn animation went out the window because Toy Story came out.
Right.
So all of a sudden, they were giving me my portfolio back like, that don't work. And then I got a chance to act. And the rest is history. I did not know that that was my destiny. I had no idea. I probably would have got complacent. Probably would have been like, yeah, it's automatic. And I've seen people get there like, yeah, I should have had that yesterday. But I never feel that way, man. I'm always, especially now that we're losing people, especially now.
Being on the set of White Chicks, you get an opportunity you mentioned earlier to work around Keenan Ivory Wayans, and you saw what he did with In Living Color. Did you really get an opportunity to see his comedic genius? Because you look at In Living Color, I don't know if we're ever going to see anything like that again.
Never.
And it gave birth to so many great, the Jamie Foxx, the David Allen Greers, the Tommy Davidson, the Jim Carrey, the Wayans brothers. I mean, there's so many people that launched their careers and became what they became.
Jennifer Lopez.
J-Lo became what she became from that. Did you get a sense like, man, this dude is a genius?
Yes, but this is the thing you got to understand. The same thing about the NFL. When I walked in the locker room in the NFL, they don't want you going, "Ooh, you so-and-so. You got to hit him." No, you know what I mean? Like, in the league, you realize, wait a minute, man, if I don't hit you, listen, you on the offensive side of the ball. If I was opposite of you, you don't want me going, "Oh, man, you sharing the shirt." You run me over. You want a challenge.
Right.
You want, pow, I'm coming at you, boom, boom, boom. And that's exactly what these actors want. That's exactly what these comedians want. They don't want you coming in there, "Oh, look." Man, Sly Stallone's looking like, "I want you to bring that heat when you come. When you look at me, like I did Denzel. And Training Day. They don't want me to be like, "Oh, wow, you Denzel." They want me looking at him like I'll kill him if he step out of line.
Right.
Because that's where everything is. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants you to lob. You know what I mean? They want you to throw it for real. And that's exactly what the way Keenan and the whole, they were playing for keeps. This is another thing. It's one reason why you can't do White Chicks too, because comedy's dangerous.
Oh, yeah.
It's dangerous.
We're a different time now. We're definitely a different time now. But how have you been able to still sing? You've been in Malibu's Most Wanted. You've been in Deliverance from Eva. You've been in Soul Plane. How? Because it's not like it's written that you're the star of the movie, but you always find a way to steal a scene. And man, you remember when T. Cruz was singing, you remember he's out there on the floor and he drunk that drink and he out there dancing. You're always able to steal a scene, even though the movie isn't written around you.
Passion. I serve the actors. I serve the script. I serve the audience. And it's never about me. And anytime you see a movie and you're bored, it's about that dude on the screen. I've watched stuff and you're like, "Oh, man, this dude." Cats mail it in. It's, "How good am I going to look now? I'm turning to the left and I'm turning to the right." You're like, "Oh, man, whatever." But when I'm serving, because this is the key. This is what I had to tell my son. Even about money. I said, you want to make money? The key to making money is serving the most amount of people. The more people you serve, the more money you make. Straight up. I said, look, people always say, athletes make so much money. Doctors should make more money than athletes. But I'm like, wait, how many patients you got? How many patients you got? The doctor got 30 patients. Well, you got 30 patient money. But how many people are enjoying watching LeBron play?
True.
Hundreds of millions. So he gets hundreds of millions of dollars. I said, dude, don't ever get it twisted. You serve more people, you get more props, you get more money. And I decided I was going to serve more people in everything I did. I remember doing Malibu's Most Wanted. And I remember being on the set. And I said, I'm going to play this character. His name is 8 Ball, but I'm going to play him like he's real. And I started doing stuff, and the director was like, hey, put the camera on that dude right there. And this is the thing. and this is really tricky, and I gotta let everybody know this, it can get you in trouble. Because people go, he's showing out. Why you trying to make us look bad? You know how many times I heard that? People always was like, oh, Mr. Overdo it. Oh, you gonna sweep the whole place. Okay, Mr. And see, and that's what you gotta resist. That's what you gotta resist. I found a long time ago, like, whatever God says about you, and if you repeat it, it sounds very narcissistic. But whatever Satan says about you, and you repeat it, it sounds very realistic. And you have to decide, whoa, am I going to be real? Or am I going to do what God said? Like, do everything I can. And that's a tricky thing, because you get tricked into it. You get like, oh yeah, you showing out, yeah. But I realize, no, the best thing I can do for the whole world is to make the most of Terry Crews. Best thing I can do for everybody is work out 2 hours a day. That's it. Because all I do is work on me. Best thing I can do for everybody on that set, study my lines. Know what I'm doing. Be prepared. Be ready. Always focused. Best thing. And all of a sudden, nobody got to worry about you. Nobody worry about you. This thing, and back in the NFL, they had to worry about me a little bit. And that's the lesson I learned. I said, no, you ain't never got to worry about me. I'm coming. I'm watching. I'm seeing. And I'm focused. And it's fun. And then all of a sudden, you can have fun.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But boy, just warning, that when you do that, and that's one thing too, I had to move on because I had to realize, I had a message on my message machine. I said, hey, this is Terry Crews. I'm taking it to the next level, and I'm not going back. Leave a message. And all the people who was like, where you going? Where you going? Oh, okay. Oh, not. Them the cats didn't get my new number. Because I realized, I said, man, I need a new circle. And the circle that will get me there has got to be the ones that are happy I'm getting moved up to. You know what I mean? And anybody that got crazy, I mean, it's funny because me and my father had a lot of issues, man. I mean, again, he used to beat my mom, he used to do all this crazy stuff. And then he called me up before I get on AGT and cussed me out. You ain't nothing. He said, and I remember just going.
Was he drinking?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he got like this when he was drinking.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
is that why you don't drink?
That's why I don't drink. That's why I don't drink. I watched my father get drunk and he beat up my mom. That was early as memory, man, watching him knock my mother out.
So he calls you up before you go on AGTV, and he's saying, what's he saying to you?
Cussing me out. Okay, it's like, you ain't shit.
Where did this come from?
I don't know. It's one of them things where you think you big and stuff, and I'm going, wow. And it got to a time where I actually had to change my number, and the only way I would communicate with him was through someone else. Mm-hmm. Just, is he all right? Okay, cool. But that stuff deep, man. Mm-hmm. And it was easier to get rid of friends that way, where you go, hey, I can move on. Or so-called friends, you realize, that's not a friend anymore. But it's a whole nother thing when it's like, right. And my mom passed away a few years ago. So now it's just him. But it's one of those things where I realize what it is. It's okay. He's jealous. He's angry. But that's okay.
Have you and he always had this contentious relationship?
Yeah.
Your earliest memories?
Earliest. I remember, we were driving. He was driving me, picked me up from practice, because he didn't want to pick me up from practice. He's like, oh man, I'm wasting my time. I got to do this. Because he didn't like sports. And he said, I said, I'm going to make it in the NFL. He said, only 1 in a million make it in the NFL. Only 1 in a million. I said, I'm 1 in a million. I looked up dead in the car. I probably was 12. I said, I'm 1 in a million. You gotta understand, I'll never forget this. Mm-hmm. These are moments make me who I am. And I said, man. And I remember those conversations. And I know that. Even as I walk around this town, I am 1 in a million.
As you've gotten older, have you ever
tried to sit down and have a conversation with your father? Have you ever guys have thought about going to therapy together and try to get to the root? You're 55. I understand you have a very contentious relationship, but you only get one.
Yeah.
And I know sometimes you probably think you don't miss it because you have the opportunity to pick up the phone and call it. But you know, T, there might be one day that you don't have an opportunity to talk to.
I know. And, you know, that might be, I'll be honest with you, man, that might be the reason we're sitting here today. Just talking about this is making me realize there's got to be, we got to find a way to make this work. Yeah, we got to find a way. I mean, and it's wild because I tried. I call, and then, you know, you find out he's drinking, because he'll lie. You know, I ain't drinking, and, you know, and then you talk.
But you know all the signs that he is drinking.
All the signs. You know what I mean? Just everything. Because he's a whole different person when he's not.
Right.
You know, so.
Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, I have an older brother, a younger sister. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy that I was going in between.
What's their relationship like with your father? Or is it just you?
No, it's everybody. I mean, yeah, because he, again.
But like you say,
everybody was
drinking.
Everybody was there when he was beating my mother.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So it makes it very, very difficult. And when she passed, that was a really, really hard time. Like, because that's the thing, man. It's almost like, why didn't you, like, it should have been you. Like, you beating her, and she just internalizing all that. She got sick, and that was it. And it's like, man, you know? But it's one of those things, I think, if he was willing, and we just got to find out if he would be willing. I have to find out if he'd be willing to do that. Yeah. So we can all sit down together.
Yeah, have you ever had a conversation with him like, Dad, why do you treat Mom like this? Why did you do some of the things that you did?
You're talking to a person who would literally be like, this is what, one thing he said, I didn't beat her that bad.
That bad?
Bruh, when you're talking those kind of words, you're like, man, you know, what are you saying? I didn't beat her that bad? You're talking to their son. And he's never been able to acknowledge that. And what happens is, this is a problem, man. Listen, and this is one thing I realized, that if you don't deal with these things early, or where you're at, they harden.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the Bible talks about hardening your heart. And there's a point where you feel like, I'm good no matter what. And I never wanted to get like that. You gotta understand, man, I had to revamp my whole relationship with my own wife. 20 years in, I had to admit I had been unfaithful to her. You know how wonderful, I'm telling you all the stuff, the great stuff she did, the whole thing, that still wasn't enough for me to be faithful. And I had to turn.
When you was at your lowest, she was there.
You see? And I went, man. And I had to go, because I was going to turn, it was going to be a whole hardening of my heart. So I'm finally realizing, well, you know, it was you. Because you got to understand, when you're in that mindset, it's like, it's always somebody else. It's always somebody else's problem. Hey, not me, I'm good. And I'll never forget, I felt like we was going to break up. We had just celebrated our 20th anniversary. We're on 34 now. Wow. But I said, I don't think we're going to make it. But the thing is, there were things I never told her. You know, there were secrets that I was holding, stuff that I done that I never said nothing about.
That she didn't know about.
She didn't know, but she suspected. You know, they know. Yeah. And she's like, And finally, she said, this is the thing, man, this is what got me. She got me, she said, what is it I don't know about you, Terry Crews? And you gotta know, I'm from Flint, man. You know, first of all, you grow up with, you in the hood, you know about what's wrong with you. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You got a big head, that's big head Johnny.
Right.
You got big ears, that's ears, whatever. You know? You know? Right. It's like, you grow up with, you gotta be tough.
Right.
That's the whole thing, trash talk, whatever, get dumped on, you don't live it down. I mean, that's just the way it was. And I started to realize, well, they're gonna talk anyway. So, you know what I mean? So, let me give them something to talk about. But I started to realize, when I had so many black people come forward and say, thank you. Thank you. Hey, Ron, thank you for coming forward and saying what happened. Right. Because it happened to me. Man, people people pulling me to the side. And that's where I know I was right. I said, no, this is a problem. I was going to parties, going to Hollywood stuff, man, and people pulling me to the side in tears. I just got to talk to somebody. And I'm going, listen, man, I knew when I went in front of the United States Congress and told that story in front of all those senators and the whole thing, I said, this is a major problem. And I knew my purpose. It was almost like it transcended football, Hollywood. Now I'm in the government circles and I'm going, wow. And if one person's life changed because of that, it was worth it.
You caught a lot of criticism, a lot of flack, a lot of heat with the Gabrielle Union situation. I think she was released from AGT, and it seemingly some of the tweets that you said about black communism. I think something to that effect. What was the terms? Black supremacy. And for the longest time, it seemed like Black Twitter was on your side, the Black society was on your side. But it seemed like when you didn't come to the defense of Gabrielle, it seemed like it switched on you a little bit, and then it was tough because you're on an island. Yeah. You're on an island. How were you able to get over that, and then have you talked to Gabrielle since then?
Yes, yeah. Let me tell you, man, that is one of my biggest regrets. Again, I apologize publicly, but I up until this time, I never had talked to her. And this is the thing, man. And the problem I had was getting on Twitter.